Chris, never in doubt for the comeback Kings?
Oh, I don't know about that, mate. I'd rather not win that way all the time. It's no good for the heart and the health. But, you know, they're a tremendous group, our blokes. They believe in themselves and, you know, we got to half-time and we had a bit of a conversation about just how poor we were in the contest. Well, we were getting walloped. And you can't win games of football when that's happening. You know, we were down about 20 in contested possession. We were, you know, 7 or 8 down at clearance. We were getting smashed out of centre bounces. We were probably lucky that we weren't, to be honest, further behind. But the second half we were able to turn it around, which is a good sign. That was the conversation at half-time, sort of like, well, boys, can't really talk about much else other than we need to win the ball, because if we can't win it, then we can't win this game. So the leaders took that on board. Our mids got on top in the second half, and you know, the result's a result.
Is it sustainable doing this, coming back from so far down?
Oh, I don't know. Like, footy's like that now. Like, there's so many momentum changes in AFL footy. You just can't ever believe that you're out of a game, and that's the way you have to treat it. Look, we're going to have times where we're down at half time and we might not be able to do that, but if you keep having a crack, it's amazing what can happen. So that's the attitude of our players. I guess we've got a fair bit of confidence out of the fact that we're able to do that a number of times later in the year last year, and we just sort of always think we can get back in.
The last time a Brisbane or a Lions team made a 5-0 start was Fitzroy way back in 1948. How pleasing is it, the start the defending premiers have come up with here?
Yeah.
Chris, how important is it?
Yeah, I don't know the historical stuff. That's a long time, isn't it? Yeah. Look, it's, as a coach, I mean, I've never been a premiership coach before, but the one thing I was worried about as soon as we won the premiership was what are we going to be like next year, and we had a lot of conversations about that over the summer, about staying humble and but having confidence as well. And I feel like that's what we've done. I don't think the group's got ahead of itself. It's an early call. We're only 5 weeks in. There's a lot of games of football to go. But on what we've seen so far, it seems like the hunger's still there. Like, you know, we've been in the position several times this season already where I guess we could have just said, oh, well, you know, we did pretty well last year. We don't have to keep going here. But we've found a way in every game. So for me, that says there's a big appetite to keep going and to be a strong team again this year.
How pleasing is that? Because there still is that, you know, that Joe Danaher-shaped hole in the forward line, like such an important player, going and finding ways to, you know, win and kick winning scores.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, there was a lot of, you know, 0-3 last year with Joey in our forward line to start the year. So, like, I know it's a topic of conversation, but for us it's not. Like, our system is what creates scores. And so if our system's right, then whoever is up there will be the beneficiary of that. And tonight, you know, a lot of guys bobbed up. You know, Eric Hipwood had a slow start first half, then bobs up with a number of goals in the second half, and he'll take a lot of confidence from that. Logan Morris was really good at the start for the 4 goals. You know, Zach Bailey pops up. Our smalls are pretty dangerous. So, you know, we've got lots of avenues to go. We weren't just relying on Joey. We never were, but I understand why people would say that.
Given that you have a very strong record and recent history of being able to work your way back into games when the heat's on, what was you mentioned a conversation at half-time. Was it a robust conversation with the coach leading the way, or was it, no, let's keep our heads, we know we can do this? What was it like in the rooms?
It was pretty calm, to be honest with you, because the facts were really clear about what was happening. So, you know, I had the statistics in the contested part of the game, clearances up on the board, our tackling effectiveness, all the things that you associate with work rate and you know, appetite for the contest. And so I said, look, I'd like to give you a bit more other than that, boys, but if we can't fix that bit up, there's not much we can do here, and we're going to suffer a pretty poor loss. But it's sort of balls in your court. You know, see what you can do about it. If we can sort of claw our way back somewhere near them by 3/4 time, we might be a chance. And to be honest, I think you look at the Bulldogs' preparation this week, and I'm not in the camp, but just as an outside observer, they had to play in Perth in the heat last Sunday and then fly back to Melbourne and then fly back over here and play another game in the heat this afternoon. I wonder if that took a little bit of a toll on them in the second half. We were sort of aware of that and felt like it could be a factor if we could just hang in there. Bevo probably wouldn't agree with me, but I felt there might have been a little bit of that. We certainly talked about it anyway. It was something coming into the game. Thought if we could hang in with them for long enough.
You mentioned Logan. How pivotal was he in that comeback?
Well, I'll tell you what, Logan was pivotal when we weren't going all that well in the first half. Like, he was the one bloke that looked dangerous up forward, and then he continued that on after half time. He's a really smart footballer. He knows where the goals are. He knows how to bring his teammates into the game, and he's in his second year of footy. So, you shouldn't probably talk about who players remind you of, but he's a lot like Jack Rewalt, I reckon. He's not overly tall. He's about 193, but he can leap. He takes the ball at its highest point, and he's got really good footy game sense.
What about the other end of the ground? Who does Sam Darcy remind you of, and how did you kind of see that battle with him and Harris?
Yeah, it was a good battle, I reckon. Harris took a lot of intercept marks and did a lot of good things for us, and he did a lot of good things for them. So I reckon it's a bit of a 0-0 draw. And I didn't feel like Darcy dominated the game, which is what we didn't want him to do. And given the amount of supply they had in the first half, it's a little surprising that he didn't get a bit more. But I thought our blokes did a good job spoiling and intercept marking when they could. So.
And also down back for the whole game, just for Fletcher.
Yes.
Pretty critical when you looked under siege down back there, Chris.
Yes, out of a disappointing situation for Stas, we've had to put Jasper back, and it seems like he's a natural playing at halfback. He gathers the ball well, he intercepts well, he reads the play well, he sets it up, he's brave in the air. So he's a bright star for us at the moment, I reckon, out of a little bit of a disappointing situation for Stas. We'll get him back eventually. Then we'll have to scratch our heads and work out who plays down the back line. But funny, that's a long way down the track.
Do you see Jasper as a defender long term or a midfielder? How do you see him develop?
I see him as a very good footballer who can play in a number of positions. And I think in time he'll develop into a fine inside mid as well. So
his dad's a Tasmanian football hall, in the Hall of Fame and Tassie footy. You ever worried when the Devils come in or something, they try and go after Jasper?
Nah, Jasper's lived in Queensland all his life, so don't think so. I don't think that'll happen. But you're right, his dad is a Hall of Famer down there. I used to play against him a bit when he was a young bloke and I was an old bloke.
How did you enjoy the experience coming to a suburban footy ground? It was a good atmosphere throughout the afternoon.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the crowd were into it. It was a great game. Like, they were well entertained, and it's got a real vibe about it, I reckon, this oval. We're pretty happy here. We've won 2 out of 2, so it's been a happy ground for us. You got to work out how to play because it's very, very narrow. And I thought as the game went on, we got better and better at that.
Yeah, so you didn't take it as being the reigning premiers, not playing the Adelaide Oval, didn't take that way.
What, personally, or
as a club?
No, look. Club? Of course, we'd love to play at the Adelaide Oval, but it's not our job to question the fixturing. That's for somebody else to do. And if we had got caught up in, we shouldn't be playing here, we should be playing there, then your ego's getting in the way when you start doing that sort of stuff. So for us, we'll play wherever we have to play, and we'll do our best to get the 4 points. So that's the attitude we take. Speaking of
Adelaide Oval, what did you make of last night, Chris? You would have had a quiet look at that.
Yeah, went to the game. Went to the game. I'm footied out actually. I went to the Geelong game on the first night, which was a fantastic game. No, Collingwood are very good around the contest. They're very good with their hands. You don't want to get in a sword fight with them, trying to play the same way that they do. We've got to play our way, and hopefully we can, cause them a few problems. We've had some good battles over the last few years, but they've had the wood on us. They've won the last 3. One of them was a grand final, which was disappointing, and we want to look to, give a good account of ourselves next week.
Has Nick Dacos learned how to break the tag then?
No, I think great players find ways to work through things, and I think he did that pretty well last night. Like that, Jordan stopped quite a few. Nick did a good job. Like he's a young bloke, but he's already a champion.
No injuries?
No, we've got no injuries. Thank you, guys.